2, 1. Begin.
How's it going, everybody? Erik and I here again, this time with a character guide for Reyna. As far as support characters go, I think she's one of the best, and she's super underused and underrated, in my opinion. So I want to go over with you how I build her Helix, what kind of gear I give her, and what sort of tactics I use in PvP, and hopefully it could be of some use to you. And since Reyna's such a badass and probably doesn't have time for this shit, let's just jump right into level 1. Now Reyna's a support character, so you don't want to be going around trying to get kills. This option buffs your allies' survivability every time you give them an overshield. Priority target's attack speed isn't great, but if you miss, it's because you weren't aiming right. Happens to me more times than I'd like to admit. But you're playing Reyna to help out your teammates and not kill enemies. Unless you're on a team full of Eldred, take this option every time. Now before we get to level 2, I want you to know that Reyna has a hard time leveling up in the early stages of matches. Because of this, one of my main focuses during that time is to build turrets and higher thrall. But if you can, getting assists always works too. Lockdown is arguably the best slowing ability in the game. After hitting an enemy with priority target, every single one of your attacks slows them for 3 seconds. Priority target lasts 6 seconds. That means you can have an enemy slowed for up to 9 seconds. It's tempting to go with priority plasma due to her secondary attack's slow attack speed. Don't fall for it, especially if you're playing incursion. Part of supporting your team means hiring the thrall, and if they have a shield, your homing blasts will run right into those, leaving you staring at the word immune over and over again. Slowing an enemy works great on enemies that keep overextending themselves, like this boulder who just can't quit. He's slowed down, my allies are just pummeling him. That's pretty much it for him. You want to really keep an eye out on enemies that are jumping too far into your territory. And now for level 3. These aren't bad options at all. An argument can be made for Plasma Burst, that it clears minion waves better, helping you level up faster. Slazo Thermokinetics is great if you're good at managing your heat bar, but I tend to go with Optical Amplifier because it's consistent and reliable. One of your goals for Reyna at the beginning of every match is to get her to level 4 as soon as possible, because it transforms Reyna from a really good support character to an excellent one. Choosing Vital Protocol turns Reyna into a burst healer, and unlike Alani, the only thing between you and healing an ally is a cooldown timer. But don't change your pants just yet, because when you give someone an overshield and heal them, you're also getting healed, thanks to her passive, Failsafe. The other two options are a little too situational and don't have as much offensive impact as they'd like you to think. And I think this is one of the most boring ways to level up, but Reyna clearly doesn't think so. You do you, Reyna. Both these options are great, and honestly I'm a little torn here myself. I tend to choose this option because it allows me to never let my finger off Plasma Pulse. This means enemies are being effectively harassed and I can charge ally overshields to my heart's content. But cooldown reductions are always great, and 15% isn't bad either. There's really no wrong choice here, so choose whatever suits you best. I think Reyna would agree with me that this is the most boring way to level up. Okay, thank God, level 6. One of your many roles is to protect your allies. This option lets you protect them even more. Play to an ability's strengths and functions. You don't hit enemies with priority target to deal damage to them. You hit them to weaken them. Therapeutic Booster is too circumstantial to make giving up vigilance worth it. And since we use Overshield quite a lot, this makes Overshield more effective. You want to avoid a lot of one-on-one conflicts with Reyna. She's not really built to survive them, but if you know the circumstances are in your favor, don't be afraid to take advantage of an enemy with low health, or if you know there's an ally or buildable around to help.
Bad news, man. You suck so much.
Yes, Reyna, Marquis does suck so much. Alright, level 7. You want to be using Plasma Pulse as Reyna's primary weapon as much as possible. With this option, not only are you taking enemy shields down faster, you're dealing more damage to their health. Shield Sapper would have more merit if it also functioned when her shields are down, and 20% isn't a crazy amount of shield you're getting back. Here's a good example of Reyna's slow ability. I definitely overextend a little too much here, but I know I can kill this Oscar Mike and get out of there safely. And he stays slowed the entire time, and there's just no escape for him. Another good thing to keep in mind is if you have another healer on the team, treat them nicely. They'll treat you nicely and your team will be unstoppable for it. And now level 8. I would avoid the mutation here. The other two options are great, but here's my problem with the option on the left, most wanted. Slowing an enemy and dealing a bunch of damage to them ends in one of two ways. They run away or they die. Most wanted doesn't necessarily help the situation either way. Dogpiler, though, is a perfect example of playing to a skill's strength, and 8 seconds is more than enough time to kill most enemies. This helps take down the tankier enemies faster as well. I don't know how, but this other enemy team we were playing against had 2 Oscar mics. If anybody can tell me how that happened, I'd love to find out. Alright, so level 9. Making overshields last 14 seconds instead of 8 is not a bad upgrade in the least, especially if you're paying attention to keeping the overshield up with plasma pulses. Kinetic deflection isn't bad either though. If you're adamant about giving allies overshields when they're in the middle of a fight, it works out quite well. Like I said before though, playing to an ability's strength is the better option here, so I normally go with Long Watch. A lot of you might be wondering, Erik Nye, how are you so perfect at this game? Well, here's me trying to shoot an Arendi with my pistol and failing miserably, and giving up and using my plasma pulse instead. And here's another way I'm not perfect. I think I picked the wrong Helix choice here. I don't think there's anything wrong with mobility module, but it doesn't outshine Huddle Up. As support, giving all your nearby allies overshields is just awesome. A lot of people like Blunderdome, and the issue I have with it is that you'll only really be using it on 1 or 2 enemies whose shields you could take down just fine with your plasma pulse, aside from the fact that it's going to push them away from you. If you do go with mobility module, do pay attention to where you are during its duration. It's important that it is mobile, and you are putting it in the right areas, and protecting the right allies. Alright, so let's give Arendi the best taunt in the game, and then go over her gear loadout. Attack speed works beautifully on Reyna. Her plasma pulse and laser pistol suffer a bit for firing pretty slowly, so not only will this let you fire faster, but it synchronizes really well with priority target. As a character that can burst heal, I simply have to increase my heal power. Being able to give my allies overshields and heal them and myself for a bunch of health is just too good, and I want to improve that. And especially because Reyna suffers from leveling up pretty slowly, it helps to have a shard generator or lower buildable cost, and make it part of my job to build turrets and minions. Well folks, that's how I play Reyna. There are a bunch of ways to play her though, and I'd love to hear yours. I'd also love to know who you'd like me to make a character guide for next, so let me know in the comments below. I hope this video helped. If it did, it would do wonders for me if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.
Way more fun than I expected. Bang, 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 bang.
Power play. Enemy forces at 40% strength.
That's the end of that one.